I'm with North Idaho College Assistant Director of Student Development, Heather Erickson, and she's going to answer a few questions about the NIC Footsteps program.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well.
So first, I was hoping you could explain what inspired you guys to start this Footsteps event at NIC.
So, about almost 4 years ago now, we saw an exhibit at University of Montana when we were there for a conference. I had the privilege of taking some students over to a conference, and we saw it advertised. And so we talked to a couple people that were involved with it at the conference and asked if we could come preview it. And so that following spring, we went and previewed their exhibit, which they titled Tunnel of Oppression. And so we previewed the exhibit, and then we also got to meet with the facilitators, the event producers, and we talked to them about like what they did and how they did it and what impact it had on our campus. And it became very apparent that this was uh, a really good way to highlight diversity issues without having like a speaker or something a little bit different, so that it was interactive and it was experiential for the students rather than just passive with a speaker or something. So we got all their notes and how they went about planning it, and they've been doing it for about 6 or 8 years now. And so we realized how big of an undertaking it was, and so then we decided not to try it that year, but to try it the following year and to work for a full year to plan it and to go through all the processes that needed to happen in order to make it a really powerful and impactful exhibit. So the following spring, which was last year, we put it all together, and I think one of the coolest parts about the exhibit, I think, is that student groups actually plan the different exhibits that are highlighted. And so we put it out, and we talked to clubs and organizations and different student groups, and even a community partner has put on an exhibit the last 2 years. And so we, as the event planners, didn't actually plan the exhibits. We just provided a venue and a platform for students to decide which issues they wanted to highlight and which things that they wanted to get more information about.
That's great. My second question is just, what exactly are you guys hoping to see as a result of Footsteps? Or in other words, what do you hope people will do differently after seeing and participating in it?
So definitely we want students just to be aware. Awareness is always the first step to making a change, and I think that this exhibit really does make students aware of different things that they maybe never had considered before, or even
Absolutely.
if they had considered it, they haven't really thought about what it would be like to be a part of one of those groups that are represented. And so awareness is definitely our first step. In the second portion of the exhibit, after you see the different interactive portions, when we go into the Room of Hope, we try to connect students with resources in order to be engaged with the topic. So if you were really moved by the veterans and you wanted to become part of the Veterans Club here on campus, there's a sign-in sheet. And so you can sign up to be part of the Veterans Club. Or if you wanted to volunteer at a domestic violence prevention center, there's information on the domestic violence table about that. The hard thing about it is that a lot of students, it's just very emotional and very impactful, and so a lot of times students aren't ready for that next step. And so we're hoping as a committee that we can continue to offer involvement areas in those 5 areas over the next year, so that maybe we would have a volunteer day where you would go and volunteer somewhere, or a awareness campaign about sweatshop labor, something to engage the student population that maybe came through the exhibit when they're ready, once they've had a time to decompress and process what they saw during the Footsteps presentation, then have a follow-up later on in the year and into next year.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for coordinating this, and I know it was a great event for me, and I hope to do it again next year.
Good. Thank you for coming.